I tell you what a final. The Champions Cup delivers again. I'm going to be honest, I'm gutted for Northampton. My English perspective, I really wanted them to win, but let me just move this. Credit to Bordeaux. Huge credit to Bordeaux. What an amazing moment for them as a club to win this competition, something they've threatened to do or promised they could do over the last couple of seasons, and they got themselves over the line in Cardiff. So welcome back to the channel. It's been a while since I've done a video of this nature, I think back in the Six Nations, but I thought Champions Cup final is as good an occasion as any to be back. So welcome back. Appreciate you clicking on the video. Do drop a comment down below. Let me know what you made of the game. Where was it won or lost? What do you make of it from a Northampton perspective in particular? And anything else that takes your fancy. I'd love it if you drop a comment. Also like the video and subscribe to the channel. So where was that game won or lost? As I say, it was a great game. 20 all at half time. Ends up being 28-20 in Bordeaux's favour at the full-time whistle. I suppose ultimately, what was the reason for that? It's two things for me. It was game management and power of Bordeaux in the second half, and then just a few moments that perhaps didn't quite go Northampton's way. It was one of those games and one of those finals of all these little moments, and there were those for both sides, and you just feel a couple of them, in particular that Henry Pollock try at the start of the second half, which got chalked off, things like that just didn't quite go Northampton's way, and they end up losing the game. And I talk about the game management and the power from a Bordeaux perspective, because I thought they were really good in the second half. In all honesty, they left scores out there, didn't they? There were numerous times that they were camped down 5 metres from the Saints' try line and didn't come away with a score. They got one in the second half. But I thought they controlled the game better than they did in the first. And just that power, Tamafuna, the way in which they can make inroads into defence. I thought Northampton were brilliant, by the way, particularly looking at that defensive effort. We speak about the ball that Bordeaux had in the red zone and close to the try line where you feel like they were going to score. There were so many times, probably from about an hour onwards, the final 20 minutes, where I was looking at it and thinking, Bordeaux are going to get another score here. It's going to really put the game to bed. It was already a 2-score game with the 8-point lead, but they'll really put it to bed. And they were just never able to. Like, Northampton did come up with big moments of their own, but ultimately, I think that power game for Bordeaux coming off the bench just gave them that little extra. And I am gutted for Saints, because what a first half in particular. Getting a try right at the start, getting a try importantly, actually, I thought that try at the end of the first half could end up being absolutely crucial to get themselves back level, because they kind of bookended it, didn't they, Northampton? Try at the start, try at the end of the first half. In between that, Bordeaux again had overall the better of the play, I felt anyway. But those two scores, particularly that last one to keep them level, and then as I say, that's where I think Bordeaux did a really good job in the second half. All right, I'll speak about the French side first, I suppose, as they're the victors here. As tight a game as it was, as much as I've said, it was a game of moments and of margins, and I'll mention the officiating in a moment, but so many little calls that felt big in the game and which shifted momentum. Despite all of that, I always felt that Bordeaux were the side that just had that little something extra. Whether it be the power game I mentioned, whether it be just slightly more X factor in that back line. Jalibert I thought was excellent. Lucu was the guy that got the player of the match award. It always felt to me like Bordeaux just had something else. And I think if Northampton were to have won this game, it would have had to have been them absolutely executing their game plan perfectly. Whereas from a Bordeaux perspective, I felt that they were capable of kind of conjuring something from nothing. Northampton needed it to be their game plan, which I'm going to get onto, and ultimately that perhaps proves a slight difference as well. But as I say, the back line we always speak about for Bordeaux, Lucu sensational. He was really good, wasn't he, at the end of the Six Nations? Do you remember when Dupont got injured? And Lucu, when we've previously seen him for France, there's always been questions of whether he's been able to fill those shoes. He was excellent then, he was excellent again today. We know about Penaud and BLBRA, but they are such a threat, such a huge threat. And they were brilliant. If we're mentioning Northampton though, we've got to mention the injuries. So, what was it? Ram goes off in the first couple of minutes just after they scored the try. Furbank, who looks like he's okay, gets knocked out early as well. It's always going to impact you, isn't it? Those injuries in the back three, the connections that Northampton have, it's always going to have an impact. It's not necessarily the reason that they lost the game, but you feel for them there, particularly having made such a good start, that it just really took the momentum out of it, kind of burst the atmosphere of the occasion with a lengthy break, really. So hopefully both those guys are okay. As I say, it looks like Furbank was all right because we saw him on the TV here. We saw him on the bench. But for Northampton, what I really liked about it from a Saints perspective, and I spoke about earlier how if they were going to win, it was going to be this game plan and executing it almost perfectly. They had such a clear game plan, didn't they? Which was to play at pace, to move the ball and to regularly go back to the short side. I think they ultimately wanted to move that Bordeaux pack around, which is always tough because Bordeaux are also the kind of team that they like an open game themselves. But we saw it with lineouts. They often went pretty quick. They often had shortened lineouts from restarts, particularly in the first half. I think they switched it up slightly in the second or when they had 14 or 13 players on the pitch to kick deeper. But particularly in the first half, we saw Northampton kick short to compete, to try and win the ball back. They wanted to play at pace. We saw them, what it could do at times, but ultimately just not enough. And it's going to feel like a missed opportunity for Northampton. I think ultimately, the way in which they've got themselves to the final, the way they beat Leinster, the way they've salvaged something of their season, which has been disappointing in the Premiership, but to get to a Champions Cup final, you do feel that if they can keep that core together, if they can keep that coaching group with Phil Dowson and Sam Vesti and Lee Radford together and Freeman, Smith, Mitchell, Furbank, Dingwall, you still feel there's a core there for Northampton that this side are going to continue to be able to compete for trophies. And perhaps almost they're a little ahead of schedule in getting to the Champions Cup final. And they weren't that far away, as we say, 8 points from getting the job done. So I'm gutted for Northampton. As I say, overall, I just feel like Bordeaux, as we probably expected, I think everyone probably had them as the favourites, just had that little bit more. I think they controlled the game a bit better in the second half. They had the power game, which started to take its toll. And with those few moments of magic, some of those tries in the first half, like the Jalabert one where he just starts almost in the middle and is hitch kicking virtually his way over to the right, offload over the top for the Coleman try, was excellent. I said I'd mention the officiating though, I just want to do that. I hate talking about officials, and I think it was a really difficult game to referee overall, and it's always going to be one of those games that I think for both teams, they would probably both be able to pinpoint moments and decisions that they thought went against them or were a little bit unfair. There were, for me, a couple in particular, though, for Northampton, which was the high shot in the first half, which didn't get looked at. I don't know why the TMO didn't get involved, whether he hadn't been given the replays, but I think that could have well been a yellow card or a big moment. And then a possible forward pass for the final Bordeaux try. I'm not convinced by that, I'll be honest. I think I saw, looking on social media, a lot of Northampton fans thinking it was definitely forward. I wasn't so sure, but I thought they might have more of a look at that. And there were so many moments that the referee had to come in or the TMO had to come in and we were checking things. And I think actually overall they did all right, the officiating team. I think it is a real reflection of modern rugby, of these big games, these big moments. There are so many things you can look at. There are so many fine calls or fine moments, and you could go through a game with an absolute toothpick and pick out bits and bobs they got wrong. I suppose particularly off the back of the Challenge Cup, maybe with the Underhill yellow, which a lot of us, I think, seem to think probably should have been a red. There's a bit of a spotlight on them. I thought overall they did okay, but at the same time, I think Northampton have a few reasons to feel aggrieved. Overall, though, great final, Bordeaux-worthy winners. What is it about the Champions Cup? It is the weirdest competition, I think, because year after year, it is riddled with problems in the pool stages. I'll be speaking about it next season. I can guarantee you on this channel about whether it's the travel of the South African teams. The big one for me is it's too exclusive. There are too many teams in it. It needs to be cut down and kind of have more quality rather than some of the teams we see in it. But regardless of all that, we get to the semi-finals, we get to the final, and we get some great games, didn't we? I feel like this just fell short of being an absolute classic. Up till about 55 minutes, I thought this game was going to be up there with probably the finals we've seen over the last 3 years involving Leinster, La Rochelle and Toulouse. Like it was heading that way. I don't think it quite got there because Bordeaux had the 2-score lead. Northampton couldn't quite get that score, penalty or try, to be able to get themselves properly within touching distance. So I don't think it was an all-time classic, but for 55 minutes, for an hour, it was excellent once again. And the knockout stages, the latter stages of the Champions Cup, don't know what they put in the water, but we often get some pretty awesome games. So those are my first thoughts. Also, to flag, I'm going to be in Australia for the Lions tour this year, the whole of the year. The whole of the tour. So I'll be out there for the Perth game. I won't be in Dublin for the Argentina game, but I'll be there in Perth for the Western Force and then all the way through the tour. So I'll be hopefully back doing videos regularly every single day on the channel for that. So make sure you do not miss a thing. Drop a comment down below. What do you make of the Champions Cup? Subscribe to the channel, like the video as well. I'll see you in the next one.